Welcome back to Badger Outdoors. Another Friday through crazy traffic. Why does everyone drive like a nutter on a Friday? Gonna have a chat about well, a couple of burgers obviously and a couple of beers. Clearly it's Friday, but have a chat about lights and lighting, being seen, not being seen, seeing that. And I've come up with a bit of a hack for a tarp on a hammock. I want something that's really easy, simple to put it up. Anyway, I've come up with the option. I've set it all up. It works on my two ultralight hammocks, but I haven't tried it on this one wind, which is going to be my main summer hammock. I've come to a place that I've thought about staying at quite a few times. The snag is that there's a big car park there. Everyone turns up and takes their dogs for a walk. There's probably about 12 cars out at the moment now. They all generally go up there, up onto the high ground to get a view, and dogs can run wild. They don't really come down into the wood, but you never know, as I found out many times. It's a little bit off the beaten track, this is, which is great. Yeah, here's a clearing. Blooming heck. That's ridiculous. Isn't that disgusting? Can you imagine the size of that fire to be burning everything over here and there, and they did it right next to a tree. Monster Weetabix chocolate drink. Kids. Something changes. I end up cleaning up after kids, whether I'm at home or out in the woods. Tonight I'm going to have I'm going to do a fire responsibly. Tonight I'm not sure about this ground. I'm going to have a dig down and have a look. But I did think if I was going to go out into the forest, and it's summer, I'll just take something to have a little fire in. And I just want some coals just to cook my burgers in. I'm not going to keep a fire going tonight. Yeah, 5:15, so I'll set up quite quickly. Like I said, I'm just going to have a chat about lighting, the things that I've figured out over the last few years, which most of you will probably find bloody common sense. And yeah, we'll have a look at this tarp add-on for the hammock, which may or may not work, we'll see. But I do have my rigging bag, and in there I've got everything I need to fix anything and sort anything to do with tarps, hammocks. Okay, so when it comes to tarps, I'll be honest, I don't like having to put up tarp. I prefer to lie in my hammock and look up into the trees. That's the whole point of me being there. A tarp is, yeah, it's essential in the winter, so I almost always put them up in the winter. So my two winter hammocks, I use the Wall Bonnet Mini Fly and the Super Fly. Depending on the amount of wind, those are pretty always, I take one of those two. In the summer, I will take a tarp of some sort if there's any chance of some rain. I mean, often I'll take the risk if I know there's a high pressure and there's no chance that rain's going to happen. But if there's any sort of chance, then I want to take a tarp with me. But I want it to be really minimal in weight. I don't necessarily want to put it up straight away. I want it to have it ready to go, so it's relatively easy to put up, simple. And the way to make a tarp simple is not to have a ridge line. Now, if you ever used a Hennessy hammock, you'll know how they connect their tarps onto, or in fact they call them Rainflies, which they are really. They connect those onto the suspension. really quick and easy, and I'm a big fan of it. Their Rainflies are fairly small, because if it's summer and there's just a little bit of rain coming down, you don't need a big tarp. I don't necessarily want to have to peg down 4 corners. I'd rather just peg down 2 corners. So a diamond formation would be nice. And the Hennessy hammocks, the Hennessy tarps, are an asymmetric diamond shape, and they're pretty lightweight. There's the poly version and the nylon version. Nylon version a little bit tougher in the winter, stretches a little bit more, has a little bit more give, whereas the poly one a little bit lighter, a little bit tauter, and doesn't soak up the water, but more chance of being ripped. So the poly one really is the one that Seal Poly one is the one that that I'd rather go for, and that's what I've got. So I've basically bought a Hennessy Hammock Rainfly, which is the diamond asymmetric. Here it is. It's got a couple of pegs in there, but it crunches up blooming small. So this is a pretty ideal setup. However, it's connecting it onto standard suspension is maybe an issue, because the Hennessy hammocks are built with ropes and it's all built into the setup. This is a little bit trickier, but I saw someone that had an idea. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to set it up and then I'll show you. Okay, I got to be honest, it's not great. Right, let's show you what it does. So this comes up into this corner, and you can see there, onto there, I've got a fisherman's loop, and that goes onto one of these plastic things. I don't know what those are, and this then connects all the way up here. Now, on this example, I like to go all the way up to the suspension, but on my whoopee sling, it goes from here and it just connects down to about here, so it fits quite nicely. But here I've had to extend it all the way up there. There is a bit of elastic on here as well to give it a little bit of flex, and so now I can adjust it at this end, and I can just tighten it up, loosen it, etc. So I can adjust the hammock in that direction. And now with this loose end, what I want to do is these two to come together. So I'm just going to loop this around here a few times and then just hold that in there so it's relatively central onto the suspension, and I'll do the same on the other end. But if it's just a little bit of light rain, then I think that is going to give me that little bit of cover that I need. You know, I can't live under that. I can't work under that or cook under that. Well, I can cook under that. I've done it before, but so there's not a lot of space. But you know what? It's good enough in the middle of the night. Just a little bit of light rain, it will sort me out from that. Right, go and get a little bit of wood. Just got my old Gone Boy. This is great. I know I've mentioned it before, but for these, it just adds that little bit extra security. It really is worth doing, but it's got to be elastic and it's got to be quite tight. And yeah, learn how to use a silky saw. This is my first one, and I think probably the 3rd or 4th time that I used this, that's when the end went. Right, just about ready to get the fire going now. Wind is coming in from this direction. Got a nice big log there to help protect the fire. Fire will go in here. I've got these will split down. They've got some moss on them, but they're fairly dry. It's a little bit damp, but I will split a few of these down to help get it going. And then I've got a load of small stuff, you know, that sort of diameter back there, and that's lovely and dry, so that will get that going nicely. The knife I brought out today is my fairly new Ben Orford, beautiful bushcraft knife. If the missus found out how much I spent on this, then I'd be living in the woods. So this is the sort of damage that kids do. I imagine this is kids because it's cans of Monster, etc., and I don't think an adult will be so irresponsible with the fire there and just leaving it. Yeah, so it's clearly someone's been playing around with an axe in here, chopping into here. You can see where the tree has tried to has tried to protect itself, and you've got the sap coming down, but it's all round here. It's quite old, but they're really obvious where they've clearly been throwing an axe, I think, from back there, throwing an axe into this tree. That's sad that people don't have any respect. The wind has gone. I mean, this was going nuts earlier, but it's completely died off. And now, you know, there's a little bit of misalignment here. On the other end is covered, but you know, if it's light rain, almost all of this is going to be dry. You may get a little bit of rain hitting here, and maybe a little bit getting down there. I don't know, but you know, this is a summer option, isn't it? It's not meant for windy conditions. It's not meant for heavy rain. It's just a last ditch emergency, chuck it up in the summer. I wasn't expecting any rain sort of thing. So I think it's going to be actually perfect. It's a little bit fiddly on this one. I'm going to look at the other suspension, and I think that'll go on a little bit better. But for the two lightweight hammocks, it's awesome. So yeah, it's an option you might want to think about. Nothing better than a proper tarp on its own ridge line, but you know, something that if you want to keep it simple and just be able to throw a tarp in a very small, tight, you know, lightweight tarp in your bag just in case, then I think it's certainly an option. I'm definitely going to use it a few more times and just see what I think. Okay, I was going to talk about lights now, so have a little chat about being seen. So when you're wild camping, when you're stealth camping, more importantly in the UK particularly, you want to see, but you don't want to be seen. And that's particularly in the UK. Stealth camping is kind of a given if you're in England and Wales. Okay, so when don't you want to be seen? Well, clearly, if you need to be stealthy, for whatever reasons you need to be stealthy, you don't want to be seen. But it may be personal safety. Whenever you're wild camping, one bit of advice that I would always give you is, if you don't have a fire on and you can't see that fire, if you're going to move away from your camp, make sure that you have a torch, but a backup torch as well. So clearly if it's dark, you're going to go away with a torch, but whatever you do, make sure you've got a backup torch, whether that's your phone, whether it's in fact on my keys I keep a fantastic little EDC light. Here are my car keys, and there it is. I can really vouch for this, although the missus managed to break hers. Aurora, yes, it's an Aurora A3. It's an amazing little light. I just press it and boom, we're on. Or I double press and we're into a little mini light. Press and hold, off. So I use that routinely. So having that, you know, I always, when I'm wild camping, always keeping a light on me. And if I was going to go away somewhere, and as soon as it gets, in fact, when it gets sunset, my head torch goes on as one of my routine things. And so I've always got some sort of backup light. Yeah, I've been there before, and I said it in one of my other videos, been there before, done it, got lost, had a friggin' nightmare trying to get back to my camp. If you've got a fire, just keep visual with the fire, otherwise make sure you've got a backup. Okay, so there is white light and there's red light. Red light is a lot harder for a human to detect. We're not particularly good at picking out red light, and I can think of a great example out in Wales, where I could see all the white lights of people who were wild camping around this massive dried up lake, but I didn't see the red light for ages. So red light is, you will see red light. It'll be harder to see, and you will be able to see it if it's in front of you. But if it's in your peripheral vision, it'll be a lot harder to see. Whereas white light will be quite obvious. So obviously red light, because it's harder for other people to see, but secondly because it's good for your own night vision. So if you put on a white light, it kills your own vision. So you turn the light off, your vision is now kind of screwed up. And in my job, we're really careful when we're out at night about white light and what it can do to your own night vision. So we start off when we first get in and we're setting everything up, everything's on bright, and then you slowly dim things down because you want to get your eyes used to a low light condition, and you'd be surprised at how long it takes. If you go from a bright light, it will take about 5 minutes to get to a reasonable level of what I would say night vision, without an unaided night vision, if you see what I mean, without any lights. It will take about 40 minutes until you are really tuned in and your eyes have really settled down. So you don't want any bright lights. So a red light is really good. A red light or a dim white light, that's the sort of thing you need, so you can turn it off and you've still got some reasonable night vision. Right, another thing that is in the visible spectrum clearly, and that you can maybe do if you're going to wild camp, is light a fire. Now clearly the idea of stealth is to remain stealthy. Lighting a fire is not stealthy. However, I would say that in an open area, if you're on a hillside or you're in a farmer's field, I mean, I'd never light a fire in a farmer's field, but if you're somewhere like that, then yeah, that is not stealthy. But if you're in a woods, I think you can be still fairly stealthy. All you're doing, I think, throughout the night is measuring risk. I'm thinking about, and risk for me is, where am I? Who owns this land? What's the likelihood of them coming here? Where are the nearest paths? How many people are walking their dogs around here? What's the weather like? Are people really going to be out walking their dogs out in this weather? How thick is the woodland? Do I have lots of brush around me? Shrubs and things like that that's going to help protect the fire. There's a lot. Everything is about risk. What time of night it is. If it's really late at night, it's midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, then I really don't care. If it's 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I probably don't really care. If it's just after midnight, so the sun is still coming down, or rather the sun has gone down, but we're still in sort of twilight time, people could be walking, then I maybe want to think about it a little, then the risk is a little bit higher. If I'm in a wood that is fairly dark, it may be dark in the wood, but outside the wood, it may be lighter and people are still walking. So while you think it's fairly dark, actually out there, it may be quite light. Is the moon going to be coming up? There are so many different things, and all I'm doing all the time is thinking about all these things and then deciding, am I going to light a fire? And quite often I think, I can. And I'm not going to light a fire quite yet. I'm going to leave it another 45 minutes, I think, before I'm going to light this thing, only because there definitely are paths. There's a path there, although I'm relatively protected here, and there is a path over there. People may come through here. People do walk their dogs. I bet you there are still cars out in that car park. There you go, I can hear a dog barking. Oh no, it's an owl. But I know there'll be cars back out there. People will still be walking, so it's a risk assessment. I'm going to leave it for that little bit longer because of where I am. But if you're going to light a fire in a woodland, consider digging a Dakota fire pit. It takes a little bit of effort. You need a spade or something like that, and if you really do need to be stealthy, then that's the thing to do. Or rather, don't light a fire, full stop. Another thing to think about are the trees that are behind you. So I've done this before and I couldn't believe I'd done it. It was in quite a busy area and I'd lit my fire. In fact, one thing I'll come back to is that if you are going to light a fire, you can obviously take a windbreak. You can get some quite big windbreaks that are maybe that deep that you can put around, and at night all you're really going to see is that flame. But just be aware that if that flame is quite big, even though it's protected and that someone who's over there isn't going to see the flame that's down here, that flame and light is going to light up some trees that your hammock is hanging on, or trees that are right near you. So think about what's behind you. That's the threat area. I've got trees here. That light is bouncing off and lighting up those trees, and that is what's being seen by someone that's over there on the trail. So you think you've been smart, but the reality is you haven't. And I've been there a couple of times now. I thought, oh, I didn't think of that, did I? What I would also do is, if you use a head torch, is dip it right down. Because if you have a torch and you don't have a baseball cap on, if you have a torch that is up here and you're looking around, all the power is in the center of the beam, and that beam is now, because you're looking around, that beam is now going out to the horizon. It's doing you no bloody favors. And if the head torch is dipped down, the only way you're going to get the main center of the beam where all the power is onto the horizon is by lifting your head right up here, which you're just not naturally going to do. So, and then certainly, when you get to 10, 11 o'clock at night, you've assessed the risk and you're like, nah, no one's going to be out here. And if they are out here, I'm going to see their torch because they need a torch in order to move around at night. then you maybe go to your white light, you maybe go for a bit brighter, and you maybe flip it up and you don't worry too much about it. But yeah, it's all a matter of balancing risk. Moving around a wood, inside a wood, really you shouldn't be doing with a torch on. If you're stealth camping, you should move in beforehand, lay low, keep quiet. And the time to keep quiet really is in that twilight period. Once the sun starts to go down and it starts to get dark, I'm then going to be just very quiet for certainly for that first half hour. I'm going to be very quiet, and I'm going to do what I'm doing, but I'm also always going to be looking up and just looking for any glint of light. And I've had this before where up on the Mendips, and I think one of my videos has it, someone basically found me in the middle of the woods, in the middle of a dark forest at night, spotlight on me, probably because I was snoring, but I had seen flashing lights earlier on the trees, just a little glint of, oh, there's a little light over there. So someone had been walking around, and there'd been little flashes of light on the trees that I should have really picked up on. I should have gone, something's going on here. Let's turn everything off and let's be quiet, and let's see what happens in the next 5-10 minutes. Right, let's go through some torches and just things to talk about really. You're going to have different torches, and there are so many out there. I'm not even going to bother going into them, but the things that you're looking for with the torches. Right, personally, I always carry a head torch as a minimum, a head torch and a main torch. And I'm going to show you those in a second, or some options in a second. When it comes to your head torch, because it's up there and you can't see it, and in fact for your own torch, for your main torch, make sure you know the controls and that the controls are really easy to use. So I've got one head torch down here which I'll show you in a second, and I can never work it out. I can never work it out. I turn it on, it's bright, it's this, and I haven't worked it out yet. I need to pay a little bit of attention and look it up online and learn about it. Whereas the one I always take out, which I'll show you, is really simple, and that's why I take it out. Other things are, you've got to have a red light. I think it's really important. You've got to have low power, is really important. You don't want a high power head torch. You've got to, if you can, have, and my main one for wild camping is my main one for wild camping, and I do have a few, is because it's got a wide beam and a narrow beam. I can use the wide beam just for general work that I'm doing. It means there's less power going out in any direction, and then if I need to move out of the area, I can switch to the main beam and I can see exactly where I'm going, and I can move that a little bit quicker. But yeah, very dimmable, easy controls, red light, wide beam, narrow beam. If you can get it, then that's great. Also, if you can have something that's adjustable, because mine, I have it on my head, but at night I put it around my neck and I sleep with it. If it's elastic, I've never had a problem in a hammock or anywhere else with having a head torch around my neck. All I do is I make sure I can adjust it easily at the back. I just release it so it's really slack down here. Never had a problem, not an issue. I put it back on again, I tighten it up, and then I'm ready to go out to the toilet or whatever else. Right, two final things you could consider is with your head torch, you could put a little bit of black tape on there. If it's too bright and you just got what you've got, you could just put a little bit of black tape on there. Maybe put a pinhole or put a screwdriver through the black tape, just leave a little hole. You'll find that will cut down the light quite considerably. That's worth thinking about. Right, let's talk about head torches now. First one I'm going to talk about is the first one I got. And here it is. It is black diamond. It is actually very small. I think it's got 2 AA batteries in it. It has a red light. Now this is the one that I can never work out. There we go, red light. How do I get it? Okay, so that's on off. Press and hold. Okay, so it's got a dimmable option. That's great. And it goes back to bright, and then it comes back to. How do I get onto red? Onto white. Double click. No. Press and hold. No, it doesn't do it. Oh, there we go. Okay, now press and. Okay. I still haven't worked out how to switch from red to white. It's just this random amount of button pressing that I do, and for that reason I don't really use this that much. I do like it because it does have the normal batteries that go in, and it is small. You know, that's quite a small one. That's pretty small. That's a really good one. But The controls I find a little bit confusing. It lives in my get your home bag now, and when I go home, when I get home and I put this away, before I put it away, I will put it away in the red mode, because it's got memory, so it remembers when, as soon as I turn it on again, it will be red, and that's what I want. I don't want it to go into white. So yeah, so there's that one. Right, the next one is probably my newest one. It's a Nightcore something 25, can't remember. And why I bought this was purely because it was rechargeable, so I can if I go on multi-day anything or bike packing, this is the one I take bike packing, because I can plug it into my battery bank. It will do over multiple days. I can be out in the wilderness for 3 or 4 days and just recharging it through solar or through my battery bank. Now you may think, okay, well, I want to take AAAs or something like that to do that. Personally, I like the idea that I can recharge it, and this thing will last me 3 or 4 days, no problem, and then I just recharge it somewhere. So I really do like it. The simple thing for me, it's got red and white lights. The white light is a single LED. There's no wide and narrow, which is unfortunate, but that's not a deal breaker for me. The important thing for me is it's got 2 buttons on the top, and so the right button, right, I think is red. There we go, red, and I press it again, it goes brighter, brighter, oh, flashing, and then off. And the left hand side will be the white light, 1, 2, 3, off. Simple, really simple. I really like this light. It's been very good to me, and it's very reliable, and it holds its charge really nicely. I can just go and pull it out of the drawer after 3 or 4 months and it just bloody works. Right, the next one, this is my wild camping light. It is bigger and heavier. It is a black diamond. Blimey, I'll put it up there. What I really like about this is that it has red and it has a white wide beam. It has a wide narrow beam, a white narrow beam, but spotlight. It's very dimmable. The controls are pretty easy. Big button is on off, and I always turn my lights off in red, so if they have a memory mode, then when I press the on button, it goes on in red. Press and hold it, it'll go dim and bright, and then it'll go back up to bright again, hopefully. Yeah, there we go, and then down. And if I press the left hand button, it will switch modes. I can't remember which mode it goes into, whatever mode that is. I think is that spotlight, and then wide beam, red, spotlight, wide beam, red. Easy. Press hold, off. Oh, press off. There we go. So that's my headlight. This is one I use for wild camping because it's got everything that I really want. Right, so your main light is, you got your head torch. That's got to be on you, I think, when you're in the woods. My main torch, this is a light that I am going to use to get out of where I am, or it's my backup, or it's going to be there to, what's that over there? What noise did I just hear? I want to have a look. I keep this before I go to bed, so my routine is at sunset I get my main head torch on, and when I go to bed I get my main light out, and this goes on my ridge line or it goes in my pocket. And so this is there so that if I hear something at night, I can put a light over there, and if I really need to get out of dodge, then I've got something that can do that. It can look a long distance. So this one here is my favorite. It's not the most powerful. I'll show you the more powerful one in a second. This is a Fenix LD12. It's got a clip there so it can clip onto my ridge line, which I like. I like that it's really simple. The on off button is on the top. On, off. It's simple. The mode button is that one there. So once it's on, I can press that and I can go from low, dim, high, etc. It's a single press. And I think there are 4 different settings. And importantly also is it's to change the battery. Is a single battery. It's a single AA. Unscrew here, unscrew that, new one in, screw it up, it's done. It's really simple, which I always carry on me. So I love this because it goes from a low power of just 5 lumens all the way up to just about, and I'll say just about, enough distance for me to be able to get out of a wood safely. So even if I was running, I could still get out with this. I don't want something that's going to illuminate the whole wood. It's pointless. I want something that's going to illuminate enough of where I'm going so that I can see where I'm going. So I think this is spot on, really highly recommended. Fenix LD12, there are probably loads more other options out there in terms of power, etc. But yeah, simple. I love this thing. Okay, while I do love my LD12, I do have another Fenix, which is a rechargeable one. I decided that, you know what, sometimes stealth isn't that important. I'm more interested in having a long battery life and long distance, and I just want to illuminate everything when I'm in a place that I don't care about stealth. So for this, I went for another Fenix. I went only because I knew the company, or I knew the brand, and I kind of trust it. I've had a number of lights over the years, which I have in the family home, and etc. This is a Fenix. I think it's E35R. Just double check that. Yeah, E35R. There it is. I'll show you the size difference. So it is certainly bigger. It has a single battery in it as well, but it is a particular, one of these big batteries specific to a unit. I do have a spare as well, but you charge that battery through the torch itself. It does have the clip as you had before. It lasts a lot longer. It is a hell of a lot brighter. I'm not going to. Maybe I'll put the figures up, but I don't really care about those sorts of figures. It's very bright. I never need to worry about the amount that I'm illuminating in a wood. What I don't like is that the rear is not the on-off. I just want something that's simple and on-off. But this has got a magnet on the back, so there's no on-off on there. Instead, you've got the front button that you press and hold, and then I press it again, brighter, 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 and then I think we're into turbo. Turbo is ridiculous. Press and hold off. So it's all down to one button. Again, this is, I don't take this out often unless I'm going into a forest. So I go quite often up into mid Wales to go see my dad, and I go there with my brother, and we have a bit of a party in the middle of the forest. I won't go into the details, but there are fairy lights and everything, big fires and fairy lights and big stews and all sorts of things going on. But yeah, this is the one I take with me then. Really a powerful, great light, but it's not stealthy. So it's not my stealth camping light, which is the LD12. Finally, I forgot one bit of kit to talk about, one light to talk about. I'll show it to you now. It sits on my finger. It sits on via Velcro. It is not coming off. I turn it on. There are two buttons either side. I can turn either of those on. But how I do it, I put my finger up here and I hold this side while I push with my thumb. Turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. A fantastic bit of kit. It is a blue light, bluish light. It's night vision compatible. It has 3 batteries in the back, which are watch batteries. It's really reliable. It's waterproof. I wouldn't hold it underwater, but in the rain it's absolutely fine. And with gloves, doesn't really matter. I can still get to it. Really great bit of kit. It's British military issue. You can buy them civilian. I'll put the details up if I can find them, but yeah, you can buy them civilian. Great bits of kit. You can do what you're doing. They're only any good for close in stuff, but you suddenly think, I need a little bit of light. There it is. See what I'm doing? Done. Lights off again. Carry on doing what you're doing. Don't have to put the thing away. So this is my little lightweight kit. It also has a lighter which goes in it as well, which I'm going to use tonight, which is absolute sacrilege, I know. I do have an emergency ferro rod and striker. I've got another ferro rod in there. I've got a solar lens in there. I've got a couple of these which are really good. I bought these, I didn't make these. I've made some, but and all I'm going to do tonight is use these plugs. They're good enough to get a fire going. I'm not messing about. I just want to get it going now. Right, it is now sunset, so I have lit this early, but I'm not worried. It is damp. It is a bit smoky. but that's going to be fine. Oh my god, there are so many bats flying around in this forest. There are probably 5, 6, 7, 8. They are at my head height. Just, there he is. You can see them really easily.
If I could cut them off at the source, guys. They can't take our money and piss it away and send it to places where it doesn't need to go.
Right, got the grate on, and we'll get the food going now. Get the burgers on, and I'm not hanging around. 9:45, and I need to go to bed, and that's too late to be eating food. Really? Oh! All right. All tired. Okay. Oh man, that is so good. Right, that's me done, tucked up. See you in the morning. No, I wouldn't do that to you. That wasn't bad. Quite a nice sleep. Quite happy with that Rainfly actually. There was a little bit of light rain that came down and I could hear it tapping away on there. No issues. Yeah. It does have to be light rain, and you don't want any wind driving in, obviously, otherwise you're going to get soaked. I could have dropped it down a little bit lower, and the snag with Hennessy hammocks and how they're attached like that, kind of like that, is that you get some sag when you get into the hammock. You effectively pull the sides in a little bit, you're applying some tension down here, and it pulls it in, which means you get sag in the tarp or in the Rainfly. So what you need to do, and I think it was Derek Hansen did a video on this, and as long as you get 30 degrees, so you get your 30 degrees on the suspension, then you should be okay. You shouldn't get any sag. Right. Cool. Unfortunately, I have to let that burn out. These adventure breakfasts are very good. I would maybe like an all-day breakfast with all the bits and bobs, but a bit of muesli, I can live with that. If I can find the bloody plastic thing. So this little system here, it's all titanium, the burner, and then you effectively got this little holder, which is obviously a stand, a windbreak, but it's also a wood burner. So I've used it quite a few times bike packing, where I've just taken that without the burner and just used twigs, and it will boil water. It just takes a long time, but it will boil everything that you need in a 750 pot. One thing I didn't mention last night was, if you don't want to be seen out in your stealth camp, then what you don't do is hang up your plastic bag full of all your food waste, because you don't want it on the ground because of animals, etc. You hang this up though in a tree, and anyone that's coming around with a torch will see this really easily. I've put white ones up, and even these green ones stand out really obviously, even just in daylight, but at night, particularly with a torch, they really are obvious. So I'm going to leave the video there. The two things having a little chat about lighting and lights. You probably know a lot of that already, if not all of it, if not more. But there you go, that's just what I picked up anyway. And then I put that tarp up, which I think is actually a really good idea. I can't take credit for it, someone else came up with that idea. Yeah, really lightweight, throw it in the bag just in case. Goes up fairly quickly, certainly on my other 2 hammocks with the whoopee slings, it went up real quick. You just got 2 pegs now because you've just got 1 peg either side to peg down. Right, see you next time, bye.